All right, everyone. So we are here with Kahea for the Adulting as a Grad Student series. And so today we're going to focus on advice on moving. And so Kahea, if you can introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Kahea. I'm a fourth year PhD student in the biochemistry and molecular biophysics program. So I moved here from Hawaii, and I came right out of undergrad from Chaminade University and directly entered from my program into the B&B program.
Great. And so can you tell us, well, coming from Hawaii, kind of how did you find an apartment, a roommate, right, moving from the West Coast over?
Yeah, it was really hard because I had no option of coming over to tour apartments. So Penn has this really cool off-campus housing search in which you can post a roommate profile and they can match you with people, or people can reach out to you if they have an open room in their apartments. And the beauty of it is that it's exclusive to the Penn community. So I ended up finding someone who was part of the medical school at Penn. And he reached out to me and told me about a room he had available in his apartment. And so he actually gave me a FaceTime tour. And then we, over email, talked about logistics. I got to DocuSign the lease, which is just signing electronically. And eventually, when I came and flew in from Hawaii with my 2 suitcases, I just took my Uber straight to the apartment and moved in that day.
So, Kahea, so you mentioned that you only came with 2 suitcases. So what were some surprising moving expenses?
Yeah, so definitely the security deposit is going to be big because it's usually 1 or 2 months of rent. And then travel, of course, was expensive, especially if you're coming from somewhere like Hawaii and flying across the country. And then because I only came with clothes, I did have to find furniture, but the B&B and the Penn community is great in the way that they also have this used furniture like Facebook group, so it's easy for you to find furniture at a cheaper rate. And sometimes Penn students, they want to help out the younger generation, so they'll want to sell it to other Penn students for discounted rates rather than posting on Craigslist or something. So I was able to find used furniture, and I got away for the first year at least, and then after my first paycheck with the stipend, I bought a couple new pieces of furniture. But I think in general, the biggest expense for me was trying to put in a security deposit along with the first month's rent on top of paying for a flight. But in the end, I think it all worked out, and Penn also gave me a nice relocation bonus that helped me with that.
Did you save then leading up to your move, knowing that these might be expenses that you had to, pay up front?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I don't think at the time, because I was just working at on-campus jobs during my undergrad, I didn't have a lot of money to save to save money with. And so my mom kind of helped me in a little bit of ways, but she also, didn't have a lot to offer me. And so the relocation bonus did come in handy, and I think that because you don't get your paycheck until after you move, I think you can request a forwarding expense so that you can get your paycheck ahead of time, just a little bit earlier.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I didn't know that was possible. That's great. So, Kahea, as a fourth year, did you stay in the same apartment when you first moved? Are you in a different apartment now? If you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so when I first moved here, I was in an apartment in West Philly, so right above 40th and Market Street, so not too west, but very north for me, and especially from where the labs are located on campus. And while the apartment was great and I thought the neighborhood was fine, I just really wanted to be closer to the city. And so because in order to get to the city from where I used to live, you'd have to take a train, but you have to walk to the train station. But I ended up moving the next year to Grad Hospital, which is a little bit closer to the labs for me, on the other side of the river. And now I can just walk to school or walk to the city, and I really like that because I'm such a city girl, so I like being close to stores and restaurants and bars, and like after dinner just walking home. So I definitely do feel safe walking around in either neighborhoods, but I just love that Grad Hospital is so close to the city, and that's why I moved. I still live with roommates, but I think maybe in my 5th year I'll be looking for a single apartment. or a studio, just because I think as I've progressed through my PhD, I feel like I can be more independent now, and maybe I want to live on my own and have more space for me, which is nothing I would have considered my first year, but everyone's different. So.
Yeah, that's great advice. I also still have roommates, but also considering maybe, yeah, trying to be independent as part of the adulting lifestyle.
And part of my 5th year, I think because I know it's going to be towards the last part of my stay at Penn, I'm willing to pay more than I did pay my first year at Penn.
Yeah,
so
that's a good point too. Yeah. All right, Kahea, so do you have any advice, either about moving or just in general adulting as a grad student, something that you wish you would have known, that you can tell the students viewing this?
Yeah. So something that I wish I did when I moved here was reach out to current students. And I met a lot of wonderful people during my interview weekend, and some reached out to me when they found out I was accepted and was going to matriculate into the fall. But I never took the time to email them back and ask them questions or ask them for help. And I'm sure I would, as well as other people in the group or the program would, maybe like do FaceTime tours for you, and so go look at an apartment for you, probably give you advice on specific locations in the city to live, or if they like have used furniture that they want to pass down, it might be easier to do that within the BGS community. So those are all things I wish I did, and I think I could have gotten a lot of help from if I did reach out to current students. I think in the beginning I was a little bit afraid of them because they're older years. I know they're all busy with their labs or with their qualifying exams. But now as a 4th year, I'm like, no, you should totally reach out to me. Like, I think I would have, or other people would have a lot to contribute or help you with.
Yeah, it's interesting now being like the older students and being like, I definitely want to help all the students that are coming in.
I mean, I'm still busy, but like I like doing those other things, because they're not lab related. And so like I need to get away from the lab sometimes, but like I love being involved in like helping the new students come in or interview weekends.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.